everybody. Welcome to another Swass-Cast. I'm your host, John Cimino, with
Keith Gleason.
And a special guest star from the Secret Identity podcast,
Brian Letendre.
Oh.
No, he's not here with us. I'm the Matman. Nice to see everybody.
And as always, when we come to the Secret Identity podcast land, we're always in the Matt Cave.
That's it, because there's nowhere else to go, but the bathroom's too small.
Yeah.
Or a Bond villain lair here today.
Oh.
It could be.
Keith just kind of slid in what we're talking about today and why we're so dapper.
Absolutely.
Because today's episode, we're talking about James Bond and his whole history, all the movies, all the villains. We're going to try to pick the best of the best.
Yep.
Villains, Bond girls, songs, gadgets, and movies.
Yeah.
If we want. Now, I'm not the biggest Bond fan in the world, but with these two cats right here, I'm sure I'll fit right in.
Yeah, we'll help you pronounce all the right names. We'll get the right movies. When you start mentioning the Bourne Ultimatum, we'll say, look, that's not James Bond. Can you kind of dial it back into what we're talking about?
Well, I do like a lot of those Bond names and names of women, because those I always remember.
Yeah, of course. I can't imagine why. Except their real names and when they don't have an entendre involved with it.
But before we get into that, we're going to do a little bit of promotion here. Self-promotion, if I might say. First off, we got a couple little trades and books and novels here that we want to show people.
Yeah. So let's start with this one by Mr. Brian Letendre. It's called Courting the King in Yellow. And it's a very Lovecrafty and type horror story.
Yep.
And Keith, you wrote a little bit of that, didn't you?
No, I just proofread.
Yeah, no, and Brian, no. See, and he got no credit. We'll call Keith Bill Finger right now.
And Matman, do you have the links that people can buy this on?
You can go to drivetrucomics.com. That's drive, THRU,
Yep.
comics.com. Check it out. You can get that book there. You can go to the Secret Identity podcast website to find out more information about that book as well.
Okay, and I got one of a very interesting author right here. He was working on this for a little while. He had some plans, and I gotta admit, this guy who wrote this knows his stuff about the comic world. It's called Pow Bam Sell: The Guide to Comic Book Marketing by Matman Herring.
Woo! Look at that cutie on the cover.
Look at it, and it says right here, over 14 copies in print. Hopefully we'll put a couple zeros at the end of there.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. But this book is chock full of information on how to market your comic book, because, come on, let's face it, we've been at the bottom of the barrel of the industry for years.
Oh, we see what happens.
And we're still there, and we see all that bad stuff and all the good stuff, and you've been talking to a lot of people. Anybody who follows the Secret Identity podcast knows that Matman knows everything. He knows all the people in the industry. He's well loved and respected. I still don't have a clue why he hangs out with us.
Most importantly, understands the industry.
Yeah, understand.
You go to enough shows and you see how to do it and how not to do it.
Yep.
And you get those guys that have, and girls that have a great comic but sit there at the table and are afraid to talk to people, or they just set up their table with a pile of crap and their soda and their bag of M&Ms. And so what you see is that, and then you've got the guy that can sell like crazy, but you open up the book and you're like, ooh, that's why it's in a bag. It's horrible.
Yeah.
So you got to try to combine the two and get that going, and hopefully that'll help some people.
And that will help. And I have to say, it's been edited by probably one of the greatest editors in comics. Or in the world.
That'd be my wife,
because I got to tell you, I don't know who spells worse or who talks worse or what, or who pronounces things worse, me or Matt.
Oh,
maybe me.
It's up there.
But maybe you spell worse.
Are you good at math at least? No, see, yeah, that's why we're so close.
And funny, like, and that's Cell right here. I think you said Bell, and I had to tell you it was Cell. That was a lot of those were spelled wrong too.
Oh,
but
crazy.
Hey, check this out. Matman, where can we find this, Matman?
Same place. You can go to Drive Thru Comics. As of speaking right now, 2 copies sold last night.
Yes.
Dose copies.
And that's just the beginning. And look at this stuff. Chock full of information. I mean, it's perfect. And you know what? I read it, and now I still don't know what to do.
That's it. But you laughed all the way through.
All the way through.
So the final book that we're going to talk about is a book that's very near and dear to me and these two guys right here, and that is the first Hero Envy trade.
Yeah.
Now, this was a long time in the making. The book started, when you started doing the comic, you had a little bit of hiccups, a couple things going on here and there, but you got it together, you got on the right path. And
when we started, Keith had hair.
Yeah.
And he was put through so much stress, He was put through the ringer.
I mean, it was awful because you had all these mentions of Abraham Lincoln. That's who was in office when this was going on.
The first issue's been reprinted more times than The Killing Joke.
And you got some great quotes. Mark Millar,
yeah. And
that was at Chicago.
In Chicago,
Wizard World.
People sometimes will say that oh my God, is that really Mark Millar? And we say, yeah, he was. We have it on film,
the video. We have it on saying it.
But Keith worked very hard.
Absolutely.
I did some of the plotting, and we did the layouts together and all that, but the whole heart and soul of this is all Keith. And
chock full of extras.
Chock full of extras. If you like the comic books, or even if you didn't, this has got so much stuff in it. It's got a nice story from me. We got a lot of bonus other stuff, sketches.
Yep.
Now that Keith worked very hard and diligently on this, and I'm very proud to say that he did a good job for once. All right, look.
And this can be bought on our site at heroenvy.com.
Please, really good.
You put a picture page.
You put a picture of your daughter on the last page, which was great because that's a little reminder of, other than the fact how gorgeous she is that you need to sell these books because that kid's got to eat.
Yeah, that kid's
she has got to eat,
and she's getting so skinny. The spam sandwiches are only going to go. Okay, so there's our little promotion. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you can go to those sites and check them out because, I mean, we got some good. This kid's so talented, and of course, we're not here with Matman just because he's not talented and what he can do for us in the industry. We're here because we love him.
And because I'm good looking.
Oh, absolutely.
There we go.
In a suit.
Look at
wow.
this. Look at
and
this.
Just show the shoes too.
There we go.
Yeah. And look at Keith. The only thing
No
that missing.
socks,
Look at no
wax.
socks. Black socks, white socks. The only thing that would be bad at those needed Keith is like the tube coloring like they had back in the 70s. You know, like. But we're going to do it on James Bond. Okay, our first thing we're going to talk about is our favorite Bond actor. We're going to do it a little differently this time. We're each going to say, we're not going to give a top 3 or anything because we got a few topics to go over, but we're going to say our favorite and then we'll talk about it and move. We'll start with Matman, we'll go to me and we'll go to Keith, all right? Okay. Since Matman's the host. Okay, and the first topic we're going to talk about is our favorite Bond actor. Matman, let's give it to us.
There have been some great ones. There's been a lot of good ones. There's been a couple questionable ones. But I'm going with George Lazenby. Everybody that knows me knows I'm going to say that. He only made one movie, but as a young kid, my dad and I sat down on one of those Friday night movies on ABC.
Was he the one that was in between?
He was in between Sean Connery.
Okay.
And Sean Connery said, I'm out of here. I'm not doing these movies anymore. I'm gone. And then they offered him a ton of money, some deals, and he came back for
he came back
for
did
Diamonds
the
Are Forever.
Movie
the worst movie ever. One good fight scene in it, but other than that, it's garbage. And it was just a great movie. I mean, I remember seeing it, and it was funny. I remember getting annoyed with my dad because my dad's explaining, well, this guy replaced the guy, blah, 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 and giving me all the director commentary. And I remember for years going, I hated that he did it. And then when my oldest started watching the Bond films, doing the same thing. Okay, Becky, now this scene right here is when he said this. But, he might not have been the greatest actor, but I go with that strictly because he was the first I saw. Loved it because of him, and when I interviewed him about 3 or 4 years ago, I was terrified.
Wow.
Terrified, but great guy, a lot of fun, kind of got the shaft on how that ended for him.
I think so, because I finally just saw that one, and I thought he was really good.
It's a brilliantly done movie.
Yeah.
Beautiful movie.
I think he's really good. You know what's funny about him that I think he has over all the other Bond actors? His punches look so powerful. Like, he threw his whole body into the punches.
That was like Harrison Ford did that too. Like
he would throw it so hard that he almost would lose his balance.
There's a scene.
I love that. Like he's fighting those guys on the beach.
I like that.
But there was a fight scene that he filmed that he actually clocked the guy.
Really?
Because he was a model. This was the first.
Wild.
It was the first movie he ever did. He was a model, so he didn't know what to do. So that was, all right, throw a punch. All right, well, I only know how to really punch. I never learned how to fake punch.
Yeah.
So
you could tell.
Yeah.
All right. My favorite Bond actor. Now, like I said before, I'm not the biggest Bond fan. I knew about what's his name,
George Lazenby.
Yeah. Later, because I don't have a great history with it. But I got to go with Sean Connery because the first Bond I ever saw was Roger Moore. He was the one near and dear to my heart. But when I saw Sean Connery later, it was so much better than Roger Moore because the first time I ever saw Bond was I went to Octopussy the theater.
Great movie.
Yeah.
Great movie.
And I'll always remember that squid in the guy's face. Remember that? And I was like, as a kid, I was like, oh my God. But I didn't really know who this James Bond guy was. And then I would watch on Channel 38 or something. I was like,
Dana Hershey's movie law.
I got to admit, Sean Connery was sexy and he was it was smooth, and like he just was everything Roger Moore tried to be. Yeah. And I knew Roger Moore was great because he was my first, but he's like the standard of what you have to measure something in. So I'm going to go with Sean Connery. It's like, fantastic.
And just like you, I got to go with Roger Moore.
Because his ties were wider.
Yeah. Well,
we grew up with that.
You grew up with Roger Moore. Like the first Bond movie I saw was actually View to a Kill.
Great movie too.
That's why a lot of my choices will be from that. But like, that's where I started loving Bond. And now, growing up, I see that Sean Connery's better. But my friend Matt actually nailed like what I was thinking about Roger Moore and why. Like when Sean Connery came and did Diamonds Are Forever, it was just like at that point in the series where he looked bored. And, and Roger Moore came in and gave it new life and kind of pushed the series in a fun direction. And I think that's because I like the one-liners. He's the best quipper of all the Bonds. Yep. No doubt about it. His quips are unbelievable.
I always wanted to get Keith that Moonraker figure, but then when I see it at conventions, it's a little expensive. It's like I don't love him that much.
Take a giant step for mankind, and he walks the guy.
What was it when he's making love to the girl and they're floating across the screen?
He's like, "Sir, I think he's
one more time around the world, James."
I love it, dude. The quipping is...
So you give it to Roger Moore.
I give it to Roger Moore.
Okay, let's go with our top villain, Matman.
This was a tough one because there have been some great ones. You can go back to Largo and Thunderball. You've got Jaws from those Roger Moore films.
Yeah.
But for villain, I had to go with Mads Mikkelsen's character from Casino Royale, and that was Le Chiffre.
Yeah, he's good.
This was a guy that
cried blood,
He cried blood. And why he was so good was that you saw him, and he wasn't outwardly scary in any way, but you knew that there was something brooding underneath him.
Yeah.
And there was the scene when they were playing cards, and Bond threw all his money in, and he made a comment about, like, because he was waiting for the tell. Every time he does this, it means he's bluffing. And then he says, "Oh, because I wiped this? Oops." And I'm like, "You son of a..." And freaked out that he was so nasty and rotten. But that guy, to me, encapsulates what a bad guy is.
Yeah, on the same level.
Yeah.
All right, I had to go with Auric Goldfinger.
Yes.
Yeah.
I liked him because he exemplified the 60s. And if there's anything I love about the 60s, it's like I love the wear, I love the humor, I love the, like...
Fat guys and
yeah, but he looked
pajamas.
so... Yeah, and he looked... And it was perfect. And he made when I started watching him, like no, you're going to die!
Yes. Greatest line from any Bond film.
Yeah, but like... It looks so 60s and like
with the laser.
Yeah. I have to go with him. He was my favorite because they had other good Bond villains and stuff, but I love the 60s, so I need to stay in the 60s, and I just love the way he was. He was the one that was the most interesting to me.
Now the actor that played him didn't speak English, and I can't remember who it was.
Oh, really?
And he played in a bunch of war films and always played German characters.
Okay.
He's always German soldiers.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Just a little fact, kids.
Yeah. My number one, I had to really think about it because, like you said, there's a ton of great villains. But I ultimately went with Christopher Lee, Scaramanga. The Man with the Golden Gun.
Oh. He brought the third nipple back to the forefront, where it belongs.
Was like a circus freak, but turned eccentric assassin. Had to have the gold bullets and the gold gun. And I love how he would bring people to his place and then have the cat and mouse game with and how can you hate a villain that has a full-size Roger Moore statue in his
and tattoo walking around?
Yeah, Knick-Knack.
Yeah, Knick-Knack. I saw him. Who was
Let
almost...
me down!
You know what's funny? Roger Moore was on Howard Stern a couple weeks ago. He said Hervé Villachez was a sex maniac. He said he couldn't keep up with them when they were making that movie. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, because he's having so much sex? Yeah.
Now, The Man with the Golden Gun was a movie that my father took my sister and I to see when we were kids.
Okay.
So this is about 1975, 74, around there. We have a local theater that used to have, they would show 3 in a row or something.
Yeah.
And I remember him walking in, and all of a sudden you see, the silhouettes of the naked women dancing on the screen. And my father looking at us, because we're freaked out. And my father looks at us and says, "If you guys ever want to see another movie again, you are not going to tell your mother this." So we had to keep quiet about the whole thing.
Rap too.
Yeah,
I don't think it's that bad. The slide whistle part is awful.
I think that it's mostly because you look at it now, and a lot of stuff from the mid-'70s didn't age well.
Yeah.
It's like when you listen to some of the albums, like you pop on a Doobie Brothers album, which might have been great in the '70s. Well, it might not have been great in the '70s, but isn't very good now either.
But see, that's the difference with the '60s. I think the '60s
held up. I think they held up.
Yeah.
I think it was critical.
Cool. So
all
that's
right.
my choice.
All right, so now an obscure thing right here. We're going to do our top Bond song.
Another tough one. Because
Very tough.
You could sit back and go, you know what, I would never listen to a Sheena Easton song ever, but when For Your Eyes Only comes on, you're mesmerized. You're just listening. And the same with Carly Simon. I mean, all those songs were great. Shirley Bassey, all these ones, but I had to go to Casino Royale and go with Chris Cornell, You Know My Name. That whole opening sequence with the cards
that was good.
and the the blood and the suits being shot through the gun. The song was perfect. Everything was perfect. In a movie that I had anxiety dreams about the weeks before, because I knew they were going to relaunch the whole series, and I thought, this is ruining my childhood, man. This is going to suck.
It ended up being...
And I walked out of there going,
5.
I can't wait to bring one person at a time to go see it. So I saw it. I saw it in the theater about 7 times.
Yeah.
Just bringing one person at a time.
Yeah, for me, a top song, like, if I had to choose, I love the intros, like like I have like that whole spy thing.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be, I had to go with the song. And the only reason why I picked this song is because I love the guy who did the song. And I'm gonna have to go Live and Let Die by Paul McCartney, 1973, because hey, I'm a Beatles fan.
Yep.
And I had to go, hey, if I'm gonna give anybody props, I gotta give it to my boy Paul because I know he's watching.
Now, interesting, the show that you guys were just at with that Stan Lee was at. I heard you met Stan Lee. I a little bit of something about that.
Yeah.
Denny Lane, who was in Paul McCartney and
The
Wings at the time.
Swass-Cast. You watch the Swass-Cast.
There we go. Denny Lane was at that show too, but nobody made a big deal about Denny Lane like they did about Stan Lee.
Right.
He was there. He was. So there you go. There's your little Bond connection.
Look at that. All right.
Yeah.
It wasn't Stan Lee. But...
No.
Okay. All right, Keith.
No, he wasn't a 97-year-old guy that was shaking at a table.
90.
90, excuse me.
Shaking, but he was shaking like the Merry Marvel Marching Society.
That was because the air conditioner
he wasn't shaking, he was marching.
The air conditioner was blowing his skin.
All right, Keith.
I like a lot of the Bond songs, but once again, I had to go back to View to a Kill for Duran Duran. View to a Kill.
Yeah.
It's a great song. And V66, one of the first videos I ever seen. Like with, do you remember the video?
Oh yeah.
They cut it in with
all the scenes, and it was
the Eiffel Tower.
Eiffel Tower.
And it was like Duran Duran fighting James Bond. It was great stuff.
Simon Le Bon.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me because Keith is such an 80s music fan. Like, that's a given.
You could go with Aha from The Living Daylights, which was a great song. The interesting fact about that Duran Duran video, up until the reunion a few years ago, that was the first time that that was the last time they all stood together. The original Duran Duran.
No kidding.
Yep.
Huh.
Oh, really?
More facts.
Yeah.
Wow.
Coming up next on MTV.
All right, now our next subject we're going to talk about is our top James Bond gadget.
Okay.
Lots of those too.
Lots of those things. I mean, from the cars to the pistols, everything.
To the babes.
To the babes.
I'm going to go with Sean Connery in Thunderball with the little breathing thing that he had.
Oh, yeah.
And if you think...
Little breathing apparatus?
Apparati, because there was only one. But it was basically a little scuba tank. You popped it in your mouth, forgetting the fact that if you breathe, you're going to breathe through your nose and you're going to drown. So he should have been swimming like this with it. But he got thrown into a pool with sharks, and then the covered up the pool.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And that, to me, that scarred me. Because when I go to a hotel or I go to a big pool, I will go up to the pool and feel the edge to make sure there's no metal gate that's going to close on me. 40-something years later, I'm still feeling the edges of swimming pools. But I got to go with the breather. Going with the breathing gadget.
All right. For me, my top Bond gadget is probably the most obvious. Now, I don't know gadgets like you guys of the James Bond thing, but I know the one that always worked and always gone on.
Oh, boy. This is where it's going.
James Bond's penis.
Yeah, that's where I figured it was going.
It had to be because, I mean, it worked well. It worked. It, got him out of jams. And even if he was the enemy with the girl, she still got a piece of that pie, too. So, I mean, what worked better out of every gadget he had worked better than his penis? What?
I might have to change my answer on that one. I think
it's in every movie,
and it's also
a plethora. It's all.
And it's like Teflon because
that dude,
timeless. that dude should have been swimming with diseases.
Yeah.
But
it is still an honest Bond gadget.
It's a gadget.
So
mine, I'm gonna go with Live and Let Die, the magnet watch.
Yes.
Must have saved him like 8 times in that movie.
He got a boat.
Yeah, got the boat.
I was hoping.
No, he couldn't get the boat. It was tied up. He had to run across the crocodile.
The alligator. That's right.
like Pitfall?
Yeah, like Pitfall. But then, do you remember the beginning when he uses it to take the girl's dress off? He turns it on and like this to hold the zipper down. Gonna rub Roger more.
See, I know your obsession.
And then his second gadget was going in that too. After the watch, he went to his pee-pee.
With your obsession with A View to a Kill, I was really worried in the fact that you were going to say the fire axe that he used to cut down the Zorn blimp.
And I do like,
yep.
That's great. Okay, our last and final one that we're going to do is probably the most famous thing about Bond, other than probably James Bond himself, is our top favorite Bond girl.
And of course, you got tons of them as well.
Tons of them.
Every one of them as beautiful as the next. You can go down the films and keep seeing how beautiful they got, how pretty they were.
I'll give you that.
I'm going to the second film, and I'm going with Daniela Bianchi, who played Tatiana Romanoff in The Spy Who... I'm sorry, I always do that. In From Russia with Love.
Russia with Love.
From Russia with Love and something.
That's a great movie.
Great movie. She plays a character that is kind of sucked into fake seducing Bond, where the gadget would come into play.
Oh,
then she turns into a very strong character, and it just, all these things you see, all these different facets of her, did not speak a lick of English. Everything had to be dubbed.
Oh, wow.
Another one.
Yeah.
We just showed you. Just if she's looking good, put her in.
Yep. Move her lips. Put some peanut butter in there and let the lips move.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, I have 2. But I can save one for an honorable mention. But my absolute best. Now, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, and I'm going to have Matman say it to me. But she was from The World Is Not Enough in 1999. She also was in Braveheart.
Sophia Marceau.
Sophia Marceau. I mean, when I saw her in Braveheart, when I was young, and I was just like, man, that is one of the most beautiful women ever. Ever. I was a little pissed that Mel Gibson got her and stuff, but we won't go into that. But I have to admit, and then when I saw that, I remember watching that movie just because of her. Oh, she's in that? I'm going to watch it. And I watched it just because
Did you
of her.
even watch Lost and Found with David Spade?
She's in that. Oh, God.
And he gets her. Like, yeah, like that's believable.
And she played a great character in that, too. She played a sympathetic young woman who's an industrialist and then turns into a complete psychopath because she was brainwashed by the dude who kidnapped her.
Yeah, that was great.
And the chomp out of her ear, if you remember, she had a chomp out of her ear missing that either he bit or he tortured her. She still looked hot.
Yeah.
Because I said, you know what? I could work around that.
Yeah.
I could look past that missing part of your ear.
And that's the thing about her. She has that, like, regal beauty. She's not, like, you know, supermodel enough, but she's just so beautiful, like a natural, like, she's almost in the same vein as, like, a Jennifer Connelly. Like, you know, like, they're just so beautiful. Like, and they don't need any enhancements and all that stuff, you know?
Right.
I just was captivated. And Keith, what's Keith's favorite girl? I like to see.
Go back to
Oh, here we go.
Uh-oh.
Tanya Roberts.
Oh, boy.
Come on, that movie
City Hall's on fire.
Max Zorin almost became my villain in that too. Christopher Walken's unbelievable.
Yeah.
All he does is laugh the entire movie.
Well, you know, when you look at the latest movie, Skyfall, there was a lot of Zorn in this villain. The bleach blonde hair, the very flamboyant attitude,
definitely
stuff like that.
Definitely, but I loved her, and I it was a toss-up though because I loved Jane Seymour in Live and Let Die.
Absolutely gorgeous lady too.
Catherine Bach's great from Spy Love Me, and
Agent Triple X.
Like I was one of the other ones I was gonna say was Honor Blackman, Pussy Galore from Goldfinger. Like she had that Sharon Tate look for me. Like she was just universally. You see, sometimes when you see pictures of pretty people from the '60s, you're still kind of like,
yeah.
But she's like Sharon Tate, like for all time. Just beautiful forever. Like,
and I don't know the girl's name from Man with the Golden Gun, but the blonde agent.
Oh, that was Britt Eklund.
Britt Eklund. Yeah,
she was with Rod Stewart at that time.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah, she was. He
wrote a lot of angry songs about that relationship.
Hot legs.
If he could have wrote a song dumping you in a sewer because you've ruined my career, that would have been a hit.
So, do we have any honorable mentions
for anything?
I think one of the big ones, if you were talking about the Bond girls, was in Casino Royale, Eva Green, rather, I should say.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful, a lot like you were saying. Not drop dead gorgeous model good looks, but there was something about her where you were thinking, wow, she's
the girl in the latest
eyes.
one was when I saw a picture of her, I was like, eh. Then I saw her in the movie, and she was great, but she wasn't enough for her.
Yeah.
Wait, you know who I thought was the weakest Bond woman? Like the one I was... Holly Berry. I was just like, you know...
Because you know why they had her in there. Because she was hot at the time, and that's why. It was like...
But I never really thought she was... I never really thought she was that great. But I mean, like...
She was Jinx.
As a Bond girl, like I was kind of
Everyone hates that movie, too.
Yeah.
And I like it.
I don't hate that movie, I hate her.
Timothy Dalton, I thought, was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I love the 2 Bond movies that he made. I thought that he was... you know what was cool for that was I was actually a huge fan at the time of the big change.
Yeah.
And I was so burned out of seeing some 25-year-old guy run down the street, and then they zoom in and it's wrinkly Roger Moore as he stops and you see the jowls spinning.
His stuntman.
We needed a change, and I thought Timothy Dalton did a great job.
Yeah, but who's the one we were just talking about before Timothy Dalton?
It was Pierce Brosnan.
What was that sitcom? Was it that sitcom he was in?
Remington Steele.
Remington Steele. Okay.
Stephanie Zimbalist.
And
But I thought he was a good Bond. He's getting a bad rap
I couldn't take him seriously because I knew him from that, and then I was like, oh, he's James Bond.
I think because they were trying to make it like GoldenEye was very traditional, very Roger Moore or Sean Connery-ish. The later ones became kind of a spoof on themselves, where it was, all right, we're going to have the paddle boat that can fly, and we're going to go through this, and it started to become like this ultra realistic thing with some stupidity in there. Like, of course, it's going to be some media mogul that's going to destroy the world. You know, that you could obviously see, but then it was, but I have this boat that nobody can see.
Yeah.
Not working, man. Not working.
Yeah, it's all like the way they establish the tone, which is curious about what they're going to do after Skyfall. Now that the status quo is reset.
And this is going to probably kill you because I think that new guy is, I don't
Which one? Daniel Craig?
Yeah.
The new guy.
The new guy.
The new guy. You know,
I love him.
A lot. I think he's good.
And I know the original James Bond isn't supposed to be the best looking guy in the world, right?
No. Isn't Dalton's? They say that Dalton is the one that kind of captured
played
more
it the closest.
what the book is supposed to be. Bond. Like he read and studied like Ian Fleming's novels.
I read as a young kid too. I would go to.
I loved him in The Rocketeer.
Yeah,
and Hot Fuzz. He's unbelievable.
What about Flash Gordon?
Flash Gordon.
Great movie. Was he Prince Zartan? Was that who it was?
Yeah.
Or?
He's very underrated.
1983, right?
And a little known fact, he wasn't kicked out of being Bond. They were going to use him again, but then like his last movie did so poorly that they shelved it for like what 5
It was
6
years. 7 years before they made another one.
But he was not fired. He was going to be in the next one. So
okay, so like that can pretty much wrap this up. We had some pretty good topics. I think we had some good gadgets.
You know what we didn't talk about though? Our favorite movie.
Oh, okay.
What is our favorite James Bond film?
I'll probably go View to a Kill because that's the one I grew up with. I know you're going to probably go on Majesty.
On a Majesty Secret Service because to me, the memories, and as you start watching it, as you start watching more movies and appreciating what movies can actually do, the feeling, the emotion, it's just a beautifully shot movie. The fight on the beach, you're like, dude, I want to get into a fight on the beach and have it be purple. The purpley sky, the shimmering water. And then when they went into Blofeld's hideout with Telly Savalas, who was so awesome as Blofeld, and it didn't work. It shouldn't have worked.
The best Blofeld had to be Donald Pleasance.
He was just terrifyingly
terrifying.
But you know, you see like the snow was so white in that movie. And then when I saw The Empire Strikes Back as a young kid, it made me realize I like things because of the snow. Those two are my 2 favorite movies of all time, and they're a lot alike.
You know, it's funny, for years, because I had never seen On Her Majesty's Secret Service until like a month ago.
Yeah.
When the new set, the Blu-ray set came out. The beginning of For Your Eyes Only never made sense to me.
Yep, and now it did. Then you see it.
Because he's going to visit the grave of
his wife Tracy.
And my favorite all time, I got to go with Goldfinger. I love that because...
Great movie.
I mean, like... Once again, it exemplified the 60s, and that's when he really became cool, right?
Odd Job.
Odd Job.
Yeah. That's a great that's a great fight, too, in the Gold Reserve.
Once again, movie. Sean Connery at his best, and it's just, for me, that's my standard of James Bond movies, and it's like, that's why, you know, I know the new stuff and all these guys are good, but I'm such a nostalgic.
One more topic. Best quip of all time. Do you have one?
I would have to go with Goldfinger.
Yeah.
So you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond. I expect you to die. And that's why I'm putting the laser way down there, so in 15 minutes it'll get you and give you plenty of time to escape.
But I gotta say that too. I gotta.
My favorite James Bond quip is "Live and let die."
Well, he always did have an inflated opinion of himself.
Oh, another great line in that movie. Take the honky outside and waste him. Waste him? Is that bad?
Yeah. Oh no!
That's why you don't go to Harlem.
GoldenEye, when Xena or
Xena on the top.
When Famke Janssen gets crushed on the thing, and he's like, she always enjoyed a good squeeze.
She couldn't Phoenix out of it.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so there we go. We added a few more in there.
Yeah.
But we'd love to know your favorite James Bond stuff. Maybe the stuff we said you like. Maybe the stuff you said we don't. But I'm sure the gadgets were pretty spot on.
Yeah, that gets us blackballed in most countries.
Blackballed.
Oh. Yeah.
So is it how good?
So good.